Today is July 27th, 2013. It is almost 1 p.m. and we're sitting with Helen Knez.
Helen P. Knez.
Helen P. Knez, yes. So yeah, if you don't mind starting with how you came here to Craig.
I was offered a job as chief operator. I just graduated from college at it was actually Colorado State College at the time, and now it's the University of Northern Colorado.
Okay.
But anyway, I came as chief operator, and I was probably the youngest chief operator in the history of Mountain Bell. Maybe even AT&T, I don't know. But anyway, and how I met my husband is I was featured in the newspaper as the newcomer to town.
Oh, okay.
And everybody contacted me. It was really interesting because the Women's League and different things. And anyway, so I had gotten a call from someone one time and asked me if I'd like to go out. And I thought, how rude. It's 10 o'clock at night, and I'm not going to meet someone at a bar.
Right.
Uh-huh.
Well, the next night, my soon-to-be husband called and asked me if I'd like to go to the movie. And I actually had a date because somebody else had called. I mean, talk about, it was a small town, trust me. And anyway, I told him, I says, well, I'm sorry, I have to scrub my floor. I remember saying that. And so he says, well, how about such and such night? And I said, well, okay. And so then I asked everybody in town, I said, what nationality is Knez?
Uh-huh.
Has this guy ever been married? I mean, I'm just, terrible. And anyway, we went out, and we just dated from then on.
Oh.
And we didn't date for very long. I met him in September. He asked me to marry him in November, and we were married in January.
Wow.
And it was not that we had to get married or anything.
Right.
I mean, it was just, you just knew it. And I met the most wonderful family in the world, and that was the Knez family. I had met his parents and his siblings, and just about the most fantastic family. And then I started meeting the extended family. And when I came here, there was one stoplight in town. There were no one-way streets.
Right.
The mall is now torn down. It actually caught fire here a few years ago. Actually, it wasn't even a mall then. It was called City Market. They had City Market and Safeway. No, they had Bill's Market and Safeway. And then City Market bought Bill's Market out.
Okay.
And then, and I'm skipping a few years, but they farmed, they put up hay, the Knezes and I'd go out and ride the combine with them when they, combined wheat, raised cows, and it was just, I was a city girl. Really, a city girl, and I just enjoyed every bit of it, with the branding and it's helping them do all these things, and you just couldn't have asked for a better family to be involved with.
Okay.
And so Ralph and I got married, and then about a year and a half later we had our first child. And then we decided that his parents offered us to we could build a house out there on their place. And that's where I've been living ever since. So that was, 38 years ago. And we had 3 children at the time, and then the 4th one came along. And I watched, when we started building this, when the boom hit Craig.
Oh,
okay, so that's when the boom hit. And then the trailer park started going up, like Cedar Mountain was established, and the one, Shadow Mountain, houses were starting to be built. They built a new school. I mean, this town just grew in leaps and bounds. And my husband not only farmed and ranched, he also hauled coal. And that was during a period of time when the coal mines were trying to bring the railroad in. And he had his own coal truck. I guess we had our own coal truck. And he hauled coal. And they used to haul coal from out at Collawile, which is out at Axel, and they'd haul it clear into town, and they'd dump it where you wouldn't even know there. There's a railroad track that goes by where they had the tipple, and the trucks would come in and dump it there.
Right.
And then they got the railroad at least went out. No, they closed Call a while because they had it was like a constant burning in the mine, and then M-Shop closed it down. And so then he went to work for Empire. Then, of course, the railroad got to Empire.
Right.
And the growth just started then, and then there was a big lull. And then a lot of people lost a lot of things because they overspent, and there were houses vacant. And, I mean, if you've driven anywhere around Craig, Western Knolls wasn't there, Ridgeview wasn't there, Highland, which is kind of trailers and houses up by the cemetery. None of that stuff is there. And the high school was built long after that, too. The high school used to be where the middle school is now. So ask me some questions. I kind of came, and Ralph did, when the oil company was in, he and another person became partners, and they did a lot of work for the oil companies, like building pads for sites and putting in ditches for water reserve. You know, when they were drilling the well, they had to have a place where that could be, and built roads and things, you know, just things like that. And
what types of activities were there to do for recreation as a family?
Oh, we snowmobiled or we sledded. The kids were very involved in 4-H.
Okay.
They raised pigs, basically. And then they started raising lambs. And all four of them did that, and their money was put aside so they could go to college. And 2 out of the 4 actually graduated from college, 2 out of the 4 of our children. And when my oldest son and my youngest son, my oldest son graduated from college, my youngest son graduated from high school. 2 weeks later, after my son graduated from high school, he was killed by a tractor. He was spraying for weeds, and the tractor slipped and rolled over him and cut the artery in his leg, and he bled to death. And my oldest son is the one that found him, and my youngest was in the house. And so from then on, I sold the cows, and my daughter kind of took over the cows and that sort of thing. In the meantime, I could talk to you about all the wonderful people that are there. I mean, Louise Fadinas, oh my gosh, what a wonderful lady, and Charlie Fadinas, and I used to go hunting with them. You asked me about activities? Oh, hunting and fishing. And they built Elkhead, and we actually had a boat, and we'd go water ski.
When did they build Elkhead?
Okay, let's see. I'm trying to think. Trent's going to be 41. He was probably about so probably about 39 years ago. Because we had the boat with Trent, and he didn't like to ride on it. It may have been a little more than that. And Trent hated the boat, and the kids were too little to be. So we kind of ended that one.
Right. Well, once it was built, it offered opportunities.
Lots, yeah. And my kids always kept busy. There wasn't anything. They had t-ball and soccer, and they had softball and baseball, you know, for the kids. My kids were more into the animal part of everything. There was rodeos. The kids were all involved in different types of rodeo things, you know.
What the state fairs? What were those like?
The county fair. The county fair, which is going to be here in another week. They were so huge because all the kids in 4-H, there were lots of 4-H kids. And everybody, you know, they had different things. They were involved in the livestock and building rockets, you know, and setting the rockets off at the fair. They had, you know, lots of activities. They'd usually have lots of activities at the fairgrounds for the kids to participate in. Like on the 4th of July, they had Ride and Tide Days, which they had a parade through town, and they still do it, and it's nothing like it used to be. But people would build floats, and everybody went to the football games because everybody was involved, It was just so family-oriented, and, there was always the bars in town, which occupied a lot of different people's lives.
Do you remember anything about the conscript?
Yes, I do. When I moved to Craig, I lived there for 2 weeks before I bought the place.
Okay.
And
what was it like?
It was horrible. Actually, at the conscript, they used to have these big, luscious buffets during the winter.
The smorgasbord?
Oh, they were to die for. Absolutely. All the shrimp and crab legs and prime rib and ham and they were just to die for. And that was a big deal. Mm-hmm. And they always had the smorgasbord before the fireman's ball, and everybody went to the fireman's ball.
That was held in the museum?
No.
The armory?
No. In top of the Elks.
Oh, okay.
They have a big open place up on top of the Elks, and a lot of people belong to the Elks. Wow. The conscript was so old that they still had radiator heat in the rooms and no air conditioning, and they'd turn it on at night and you could just hear the pipes rattle. And the room I had was above the bar, and so there was no sleep till 2 o'clock in the morning. And then I found an apartment to live in, which they didn't have apartment houses really to speak of. I moved into a place, an apartment above a house, and met some other people that lived below. And that's where I lived. When I actually have a brick of the conscript.
Oh, wow.
Actually, all of my kids have a brick because the day my husband was killed was the day they tore the conscript down. And that would have been June 19th, 1996. So it was very symbolic.
Wow.
And in the meantime, when you talk about activities, there was a lot of family planning that went on. We'd have picnics in the park with all the relatives. I mean, the people that you see here today are the offspring of the offspring. I mean, that little girl over there is the youngest of my oldest sons. And they live in Wyoming now. And that's your grandma. That's my daughter-in-law's mother.
Okay.
And, we always used to have family picnics, and people would get together for Mother's Day and Easter and Christmas and Thanksgiving, and on snowmobiling. We snowmobiled in the winter, and we'd have big parties we always had a lot of people at our house. And because we had hills and stuff, the kids could sled in and snowmobiles. And so it was nothing to have 50 or 60 people at your house for dinner or for a party. I mean, seriously.
Wow.
It was nothing. And then everybody all went to church. We went to church on every Sunday and stuff. So, I mean, your days are filled up.
Right. And how did you see the town change over the years, especially the downtown area?
Well, let's see. At one point, part of the buildings burned, and that's how they got the park. And that was an arson fire. And they didn't really remodel much of downtown. Nothing has been really remodeled. I could tell you the different spots that changed. Mathers has been there since before I ever came. The White Horse is gone, which was another bar downtown. What is in there now? they used to have a Ben Franklin store on the corner of 6th and Yampa, which is now, was a furniture rental or something like that. The museum wasn't the museum at the time.
Mm-hmm. It was the armory.
Yeah, it was the armory. I guess the biggest things I saw is after City Market bought out Bill's Market, then they built the City Market store where it's at. Safeway couldn't stand the competition because they were where the post office is.
Oh, right.
And so then they built a new store, and when they built a new store, then the mall kind of had either started around it. The mall kind of started about when the boom hit.
Okay. All right. And what was it like just overall raising a family in this environment, changing and the boom and bust?
I think it was a wonderful environment. I have 4 kids that all graduated from high school, that they're hard workers, and there wasn't the I'm not aware of how much drugs were around. I'll put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
And I know my boys would talk about kids at school that were their friends and no longer their friends because some of them would smoke pot. They were just dead set against it, and I'm glad I turned them against everything. I think it was a good atmosphere. I'd never want to raise them in the city. I lived in the city. I wouldn't. They learned a lot. I don't know. And a lot of the people that grew up here that moved away moved back.
Right.
So, where are you two from?
Long Beach, California.
Oh, this is really the wilderness for you, isn't it?
Well, I've lived in a town of 300 before, and we're both
but not
military
the same.
brats.
Oh, are you?
Yeah.
We've been everywhere.
I see. Well, my husband served in Vietnam.
Oh.
I've actually some really interesting pictures of him
Uh-huh.
that he took over there that I guess he wasn't supposed to. But one year they were putting hay up down here. This wasn't always here. I don't know who has hay now, but anyway, his dad, my husband, and my oldest son, they took a picture of them as 3 generations of baling hay.
Mm-hmm.
That's neat.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I know I have another picture of one year, one of the farmers, one of the ranchers out on, I live that way. I live south of Craig, out on Knez Coal. And one of the farmers over on 35, I guess had an accident or was really sick or something. And the other farmers in town brought all their tractors over and farmed his fields for him and planted for him.
Incredible.
It was a cool picture. I think there were 30 or 40 tractors that just were leading the way, to go over and help him. And people helped everybody. And I've seen a lot of deaths in the Knez family, but they lived to be, good old ages, really. When the circus came to town, which was pathetic as far as I'm concerned. I shouldn't say that. This is being taped. But, this little 1-ring circus, or maybe 3 rings that had nothing in it. And everybody just went out, and they'd go to the carnival when it went to town. You walk down the street and you talk to everybody. You knew everybody.
Right.
Just a great place.
Yeah.
Right.
I have no regrets. I wouldn't move back to Denver for all the tea in China.
Awesome.
Okay.
So, I don't know if you want any other questions.
What?
I guess just to close everything up, how do you feel about Craig today and the changes you've seen over time, I guess?
Well, considering what I do for a living right now, I'm a probation officer.
Gotcha.
It's very discouraging. But still, the people that I know that I'm friends with are not involved with that sort of thing. I just look and I think, we got to go back and train the parents again to be with their kids and to be a part of their activities.
So it definitely is a different time, and
it sure is.
Yeah.
It's still a good place to raise kids.
Of course.
But I mean, the kids that excel at everything are the parents that are involved. And I'm looking at the people here, and every one of them have terrific kids. Every single one of them. And not that they all live around here anymore, but now Barbara did a big article on Barbara was Marie and Ralph Rutherford's daughter. And Edie is the one standing next to her. They were cousins. Edie was Louise and Charlie's daughter. And both of their parents are now gone. But like Marie and Ralph, Marie made my wedding dress for me.
Oh, wow.
And Edie's mom, Louise, I don't know, I could just go visit her any time and she makes the best bread in the whole world. Oh, they are all terrific cooks, absolutely. And Cleo, you couldn't ask for a kinder person in the world. And as long as you have, elders like that, how can you go wrong?
Yeah.
They were all raised in a wonderful atmosphere, and
that's awesome. So it's like a community. It's more than a family. It's a little.
It's a family within a family.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Where's Cleo at?
Oh gosh, I'm sure they have her. I'll find her.
Okay, no problem.
Thank you so much.
All right, you're welcome.